Hey everybody, I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat. What's happening? Hope you're all having a fine Friday, man. The weekend is coming, right? That should be a good thing, no? All righty. Let's see who's kicking it. Rona Cooley, good to see you. Heather, what's happening? Hey, Caitlin. Toby Sprosty, glad you're here. Hey, Kiki Cookerson. Sweet Liberty. Well, you have a wonderful day, too. Right? You have a wonderful day, too. Maria, good to see you. Caroline in Canada, what's happening? Hey, Grammy, this is going to be different. I'm not gonna bowl you over with all kinds of sexual stuff. This latest lawsuit isn't that lawsuit, and it's been talked about. But I think everybody's missing the story on this one, man. I really feel like everybody's missing the story on this. We'll hit it in a minute. Kim Roy, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. James Collins cares. There's no doubt. Bayou Babe, how are you? Monica Larimore, tractor, working so you can't chat. Well, you know what? We're going to let everybody know that. There you go. No one will be holding that against Kim. You hear me? Every once in a while, you got to do that stuff, right? Cooter by the Lake, how are you? I love that. Marmalade Atkins, how are you? You don't get to drop the cooter by the lake very often, and especially in mixed company, and get away with it. I love that. Donna, how you doing? Good to see you. Good evening, you say. Oh, well, we're on some other part of the world. I love that too. Christine, how are you doing? How you doing? Roberta, nice way to spend an afternoon. You know what? This is honestly, this is a pretty interesting. This is way different. This story's look. Here's the deal, man. This thing's turning into a absolute dumpster fire, right? It really is. It's just turning into such a crap fest. And the more that the lawsuits come out, people who are victims, I understand completely wanting to be a survivor and wanting to be compensated. I think that's a great thing. Carol, good to see you. Pamela, what's up? Yarn Prepper. My fear is this. There are people that are, let's go over the story, man. Truthfully, if you don't go about 10 minutes in, then everybody misses it. You go back and you do it again and you do it again. It's all good. Jason P, how you doing, man? Watching in background on lunch break. Sweet. Take us to work, man. Take us to work. The boat, we're portable. We're portable, man. In your pocket. Anytime you need us. So this is a man. Kind of mannish. This is a man who is bringing this lawsuit. This man does not allege that he was essayed or raped. Neither of them. Prakish, how are you? Watching from the UK. Welcome to the boat. Really happy to have you here. DeWitt Gilmore. The name of this gentleman is DeWitt Gilmore. Jillian Daniels, good to see you. And here's what's happening, right? Here's the lawsuit. Oh, Millie the Dandelion, one of my favorite people. This guy, his relationship to Diddy goes all the way back to the Stampede. Goes all the way back to that basketball game, right? And we'll go over that too. Jillian, how are you? Paula D. Penley, Gozo Boys, good to see you. Hear that? That's my neighbor. I mean, my, what's that called? Mailman. My mailman. I put a mailbox directly on the outside of the house because we live up this huge hill, and it's such a pain in the can to go down and get it. And I actually talked him into coming up the hill, right? Way nicer. Good people, man. I love the male people here. Right? I really do. So DeWitt Gilmore can trace his time with Diddy all the way back to Diddy started the CC NY. There was a big basketball event, right? These were going to be rappers and stars and big names, people that were really a big deal. We're going to come and play celebrity basketball. And DeWitt Gilmore allegedly says that Diddy wasn't even the guy that came up with that idea. He was. He got lucky that Diddy stole it because it did not go well. And a lot of people lost their lives. And it amazingly, it didn't really seem to damage Diddy. It didn't. I mean, every once in a while, he'll talk about how it haunts him. I hate to be a cynic, but I don't think a whole lot haunts this man about anything. Shannon, good to see you. So they met through Andre Harrell. guy that worked at Uptown Records, and a dude that is kind of pivotal in this whole story. He's just, I mean, and I don't mean the one I'm telling. I'm talking about the Diddy story. This dude's been in every time anything happens. This cat's name's deeply involved. But DeWitt Gilmore was a magazine owner, right? And he's cruising around in his car in 1996. Get this, man. 1996. Hear that? Because this doesn't make sense. Okay. In 1996, he's driving around in an Isuzu Trooper with a clutch. And in that Isuzu Trooper are two other people, Rosanna Dana, not one of them. Christy from Maui, good to see you. Hey, Jamie H. Glad that you're here. In there with him was a security guard by the name of Lance Calfee. He was in the passenger seat. In the back seat was an intern of his. And they were cruising through the city of New York, and they were picking up cash from clubs and different places that were running ads in their magazine. You follow me? Are you seeing are you catching the night? Carmen Chameleon, good to see you. So that's the setup for 1996. And as they're driving around and doing this in the city, they go to one place, and these are a lot of nightclubs, things like that. They're pushing different performers, different albums, any of that stuff. Wharton Thistle, good to see you. They're always giving away stuff like this. You know, giving away stuff, just swag, right? Merch. They give it away everywhere. And they were giving away T-shirts, allegedly, that said Death Row East, right? Now, you know that the whole East Coast, West Coast thing is an issue, right? And Death Row being the West Coast label, having the Death Row East thing, it was, at the time, that was really kind of in everybody's face. Deborah Davies, good to see you. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that happened. I really am. I'm sorry to hear that happen. I'm glad that you're here, though. I really am. I'm glad that you're here. He puts on the shirt that says Death Row Records East Coast, right? And the diddler sees him, pulls up next to him, and he's got a couple of security guys with him as well, and he starts calling him the B word, right? And according to DeWitt Gilmore, his story allegedly is that he said, hey man, look, you're always bringing BS. I'm not looking for any drama, right? Just leave us alone, dude. Forget about it, whatever, right? Trust but document. Good to see you. Katie, how are you? And that's not how it went down. It is alleged that Diddy ended up popping off a bunch of caps at this dude, right? And getting all kinds of ugly on a long car chase, right? No one was hit. Fortunately, nobody was hit, but there was jumping curbs. There was cruising around, ending up in Howard Square and driving down one-way streets. I mean, you read the thing, it's pretty damn impressive, right? A lot of detail too. And and we do remember things really closely and really clearly when we're friggin' stressed out of our mind, right? That's how the brain works, because it's trying to make sure that it's imprinting on you stuff that's really important. Like you hear a train go by, that rah sound the first time, or a horn of a car that almost hits you and you jump back. That memory will be different in your brain than all of the other ones. Kind of a survival thing. So if you really get scared or you really get whatever. So the details are incredible though, considering this happened in 1996. And they didn't do anything about it back then. And the reason they didn't, I think, is absolutely plausible. The reason they didn't is they were scared to crap with this dude, right? He had already demonstrated that he was dangerous, right? They had gone off to a nightclub and there was a bunch of people outside, right? It was all spilling over into the streets. So Diddy ended up chasing him. And when they finally get the guy pulled over in his Isuzu Trooper, they see the car that Diddy was in pull up and he starts to get out and they're tripping, right? But a bunch of other cars pull up and it's basically a Diddy army. And they hear pop, 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 jump the curb, one-way streets, wrong way. They're running for their lives in great detail. Here's the problem. 1996. Okay, lawsuits that are being brought up right now. This is happening because of a law in New York that allows victims of SA to use the court system to get justice through the civil action, even if it took place long ago, long after the statutes of limitations had dried up. There's no SA in this, right? I mean, I guess you could call it attempted I guess, right? I'm not sure what you'd call it. Amy D from Massachusetts. Good to see you. Just north of Brighton, from Soho down to Brighton. Hello from Mass. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, Kathy, how are you? So how are they pulling this off? How are they getting this back in court? Because I promise you, the statute of limitations on this kind of stuff, or assault with a deadly W, right? Assault with a deadly weapon? No way, man. 1996, 2006, 2016. There's no way. This is so far past any statute of limitations. Here's what they're claiming. And I guess new evidence. They said new evidence is the only other way that you can get something back into court past the statute of limitations is if new evidence comes up, right? That is compelling. Then you got the opportunity to maybe retry it, even if it's past the statute of limitations. And I didn't realize that was true. I really didn't. I had no idea. I just started looking it up because I thought, how in the hell is this person going to bring this lawsuit? And it made me start to think that if this crap sells, do you have any idea what's going to happen? And I'm not saying it's crap. I just mean if this type of suit takes place, do you have any idea how many more people are going to come forward and say, hey, there's some new evidence in this case, or there's some new evidence in this case. This dude assaulted me. This dude did this. This is a frightening concept. But again, this circus is freaking spiraling out of control like you would not believe. Like you wouldn't believe. It's a dumpster fire. And it's not getting better. It's getting worse. So this guy, DeWitt, he finally was able to get a hold of, I'm not sure why he couldn't all this time, but he was able to get a hold of the people that were in the car with him. And for the first time, one of them, I don't know about the other one, but specifically the gentleman that was in the passenger seat, his security, told the entire story, right? And allegedly, this is the first time that that's ever happened. I don't know if that's what they're claiming is their new evidence. And I also don't understand. I feel like the case had to be there. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a lawyer. And I didn't spend a whole lot of my life in civil court. You know, this is definitely an area that I got to read a crap load about, but this one puzzles me. And I feel like even within the framework of the rules, this is a friggin' Hail Mary, right? And should the person get compensated for running for their lives, getting the crap scared out of them and being shot at? I don't know. I mean, I guess if that's a possibility, I can't begin to tell you the amount of people that owe me cash, right? If you, depending on the lifestyle that you lead, you're going to run into a lot of people that want to hurt you over the course of your life, right? If you rob a couple of people that sell chemicals for a living, and or you spend your time boosting stuff and running, right? And running. Hold on one second, everybody. Bill, how are you, Bill? Sorry, I knew I missed one. Jack, how you doing? Jack Fort, good to see you. Donna Davies. This has the potential to open the floodgates to who friggin' knows. How many people did this guy threaten? You understand? Not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a convict, right? Ex-convict who had a vicious drug problem. So my psycho analytics may be different than the professionals, but I don't think that the freak offs and any of the stuff he does has anything to do with sex. He talks about this. It's about power. It's about control. And if that's correct, and he's a freak about control and about power, how many people did he just abuse and scare the crap out of physically, right? That didn't get SA'd, but may have been terrorized, right? We've already heard that victims that were SA'd allegedly were pistol whipped, right? So this isn't beyond the realm, right? Think about how many people are out there. We know of one, right? We absolutely know of one. You see, Diddy's kid was playing sports. He was a football player, right? Apparently had a little game, had some skill, but something happened with the coach, right? And the diddler took it personally, and so he went down. And you know what? Any father would do this, like for real. You know what I mean? If my kid was having problems with his coach, I probably would go down and talk to him. I'm not sure I'd whack him in the head with a kettlebell, but you know what? To each his own. Bruno, how are you? On KK, Kestrel 42, and I'm not joking. That really happened. You know what I'm talking about? Those weight things, those kettle things. He smacked the guy around with one. I promise you, that lands me behind bars. If I did that, I'd be in so much trouble. I would be gone, man. I would be up the river. Blue Waters 907. The more I dig into true crime, the more I realize that we get lied to around the world. Everything you think you know, you don't. Because I was in the middle of this system. I really was for a long time. And I knew all of the rules. And you know what? None of them apply. Honestly, I'm not being funny. Over last night here, I did a show with a guy that I was a cellmate with back in 2012, right? And we got to talking, and he was kind of doing life on the installment plan. He had to go. I think he had 3 or 4 violations. He turned like a 3-year probation, like the one they cut in half for me. He turned one of those into like 10 years. The thing is this. He said one of the probation officers he had, he failed 24 urine tests before he got sent back. Where I did my probation, one dirty test, and you were gone. One. And I had heard that there were places across the U.S. that will give you 3, right? 3 chances. But those rules, it's like this rule applies here, but it doesn't apply to these people, right? And this tier of justice is for the people that make this much money. And then there's this other tier of justice. And at the same time that all of this is going around and swirling, right? There are victims and survivors every 3 feet. The trail of destruction that this dude left behind. And I have zero faith at this point that this is my theory at this point. My theory at this point is if who's ever pulling the strings, if they want him to go away and go away forever, it's already done. It's a foregone conclusion. This trial's a sham anyway, I promise you. If they want him to go, right, that's what's going to happen. That is my humble opinion, people. It's my humble opinion. We're not going to see what happens. We'll have people that come out of the courtroom and tell us what's going on, but there's not going to be any cameras in there. Whoever is supposed to win this is going to win it. They're going to jam that down the nation's throat. I'm shocked. The more I deep dive. Yesterday we talked about that Tekashi kid. The deal that he cut. Good God, man. He was violent crimes. It's not like he was boosting stuff. Right? There was a attempted M on there. 2 years. Man, give us about 13 months. We'll let you out, right? Because you got asthma. Good God. Lisa, how are you? Same crap in the UK, huh? Shining Light, good to see you. He's a walking petri dish, to be sure. And that's an actual fact. Allegedly, he kept the venereal diseases. Right? We're swirling all over the place. Marmalade Atkins. Is he in the same jail as Diddy now? You're talking about Tekashi? He is in the same jail as Diddy now. He is not. I'm going to run into him. I mean, there's no chance of that. And I'll tell you something. Everybody knows the story behind that kid, right? It's not my music. It's not my generation. And I don't care. I really don't. I could care less. But apparently, he's a great big rat. And he did that on a bunch of people from his organization, right, that he used to be a part of. And so he's in MDC Brooklyn. But the way that they've got it written up is there's the PC unit where they take people for PC. And they said that Diddy is in a place that is for people that need more protection than that, right? Like he's in the this is the big time PC, and this 6'9" kid. Honestly, they said he's in the same unit as Diddy, but he's kept in a place away from everybody else. I mean, I think that they're really worried about people wanting to see. Here's the thing: if you're like a prominent member of a gang, right, and you rat on all of your brothers are all going to want to take you off the planet. But your enemies, right, your rival gang, they're not going to go, "Oh, cool, he left." Nah, you're still trash for the rest of your life. So what you did is double the amount of people on the planet that want to hurt you. Got to be awful. That he needs to learn to stay out of trouble. Because if this kid spends a lot of time in prison, I mean, he's way safer on the street than he is inside, I promise you. How many reporters do you think, if any, will be allowed into the courtroom, and will regular people be allowed to attend? I think that's, I've never heard anybody ask that question. Honestly, what a great question. Tell you what, I think what will happen is there's going to be some form of a lottery system. The only thing I have for any kind of a perspective, herding cats, good to see you, Anka. What's up? They're Getatorians. Well, all right then. Sorry you're late. We're going to let it pass this time, right? We're going to pass this time. How is that kid still alive? Well, that's a really good question. But on the street, right? Not a very big guy either. But on the street, he surrounds himself, right, with a small army of people that protect him. By the way, he's been tuned up multiple times, right? He was kidnapped once and was able to jump out of the car and get away, if you believe that story. I'm not sure I do. Personally, I'm not sure I do, right? Guys that grab you and put you in the back of cars to steal $750,000 worth of jewelry and 35 grand in cash, right? That's what they got off of him, but somehow he escaped, right? I'll bet you all of that was insured. I'll bet you every penny of that was insured. Yeah, I'll bet you every penny of that was insured. I bet he did really well when all of that got stolen, right? Especially if you can sell it out the back door after you get paid on it, But he definitely got beat up at a gym. He was in the restroom at like the locker room at a gym, and somebody tuned him up. But it's different out here. You can pay to put a big group of people around you with firearms, people that have never been in trouble, right? And I mean, massive dudes. You've seen the guys that are bodyguards, right? I'm not a small dude. I'm really not. I'm a pretty big guy. But you get around those guys, and they're mountains. Like G and Deal's, the dude's a mountain, right? Big homie. Look at these guys. They're huge. It's a little harder. It's a little harder to come up with that kind of force, that kind of military force to take care of you when you're on the inside. Nikki, good to see you. What's happening? You doing all right, Nikki? I'm glad that you're here. There will probably be a room with closed circuit television. You know what? That's a possibility, Cooter by the Lake. But I think, so the only perspective I got on that's Danny Masterson. I went out for the Masterson sentencing. I didn't go out for the trial. I just went out for the sentencing. And on that day, we popped the doors at, I don't remember what they said, 6 or 7 or something like that. And I was out there with a guy who was my best friend at the time. And we got there like 5. I don't know exactly the time. It was way, way before. We got there way, way too early. But we were afraid that we weren't going to get in. I got there, before anybody. However, and as soon as I walk in the door, I don't know what to do. I've never been inside one of these things. I know nothing, right? And as we stepped inside the door, this woman who's a fan of the Lifeboat went, "Hey, Captain Tommy." I was like, "Holy God, show me what to do." And we were the last 2 people that they allowed into the courtroom. No joke. And what happened is you end up lining up by the door, and they come out and count. And they're lined down the wall. And I could see that getting ugly. I really could. Because it looked ugly that day. Like people were going to start smacking each other to want to get in there. Tracy, good to see you. Moose, what's happening? Carol Stewart. However, there are going to be people that are going to get seats. There's going to be people that are going to be guaranteed seats at these courtrooms. I haven't been convicted in a courtroom, in the Southern District of New York. So I don't really have any idea. However, what? Hold on a second. What? He's definitely in there on a violation probation. The judge ordered him out of solitary confinement. Are you saying that the judge did that against his will? Because I'm struggling. I'm struggling to understand exactly what happened. If you could help me with that. If I had a coffee cart outside the courtroom, right? That and hot pretzels and T-shirts that say, "You're a bad man, Diddy," or something along those lines. Hey, Don, how are you? I did see Ariel on there with Jag Poseidon. I did. I'm not sure if you've heard. That's my new home. I actually have a job over there. She's really funny because I haven't had a job in a really long time. Hold on one second. Hey, currently I'm live, brother. So I will get back to you later. Really funny. Poseidon Nanobit. I know I've never said hello to you. I think I would remember the name Poseidon Nanobit. Know what I mean? Kristen Melinda. There's a name I know. Can't stay. Have appointments till 5. But happy Friday. All right. You have a good day. I'm sure we might just run into you later. I think we're going to do it. Yeah, there's another show. There might even be 2 shows later. Tracy, good to see you. Cindy Plumley, what's happening? Maria, I'm glad you're here. Hey, Galen, Tracy. So if you're just getting here, I was recapping. There's a man who is now suing Diddy. A lawsuit from a man that was not SA'd. A lawsuit from a man that has not been R-worded, none of that. This is odd. He was assaulted with a bang bang, and they went on a big chase through the city, and all kinds of danger, all kinds of stress, and I'm sure it scared the ever-loving crap out of him. And that is the kind of thing that would leave lasting, damage. I'm not even being funny, man. I'm sure that he has PTSD from that kind of thing, right? And I bet you he walks around that city really different for the next little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's got to make you look over your shoulder. So he wants to bring a lawsuit. I think that's completely legit. The problem is it is way, and I do mean way, past the statutes of limitations. This happened in 1996. This is the story, man. This is the story as far as I'm concerned. What happens if they allow this to go? It's past the statutes of limitations, and they're saying, well, there's new evidence in this case. New evidence, right, will get you back in. You can blow off the statutes of limitations if brand new evidence comes out. Now, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. It's really an odd thing, because I start trying to put that into some kind of perspective in my dome, right? Try to put it into a case. Okay, so let's say I knock off an armored car, right? I knock off an armored car and I get all of the cash out. I don't kill anybody, right? All I do is rip off this armored car, and I get all of the cash and I get it to a storage facility, right? And I don't go down there. I lay low. I'm just paying that thing by credit card, right? Years are going by. And then about a decade later, statute of limitations was up at 7 years, right? Now, before I go down there to get my cash, they go and they do a raid and they look at all these things, something else. They're looking for somebody else's stuff. And what do they find? They find all of the evidence from the armored car I heisted. In fact, let's make the story better. They find the armored car. Maybe I got that in the story. I don't know, but you understand the concept. So if they find that 14 years later, they can go, oh, look at this, new evidence. We know who did this. Now we're going to charge him. I don't know. If you're an attorney, explain that one to me. If that's what they're saying, do you have any idea the shit show this is about to become? I mean, let's be really honest. This guy messed with a lot of people, right? This was a bad dude. This was a bad dude who lived on control, who lived on getting off on seeing people that are really scared. Kind of nasty. Sassy Savage comment. Thank you. Appreciate you. David Clark. A little late. That's all right. That's all right. Kirsten. A little late. No big deal. No big deal. Sybil Haynes. How are you? See, I did say, people, if normally if I could just chip away and keep you guys busy for like the first 15, because it lets everybody get here and then I can go with the whole story. But I don't. No, he complained about being in there. Yeah, I'm going to have to look that one up, because it's that process, right? the process to get, now again, it's a perfect example though. Where you at? This is, if you're just getting here, Jen told us earlier that this gentleman, 6'9", the Takashi guy, 6'9". All right, so he's in MDC Brooklyn. He's back on a probation violation, right? Which, by the way, gets any other dude gets sent back to prison, but that's not going to happen with him. But he's in solitary. He is being protected because whatever unit they put him in, they're afraid there's going to be somebody that wants to fire on this guy, right? It's yeah. Yeah. I'm really struggling. Normally, this is how this happens, right? Let's say I want to come off of forced protective custody. The way that process works is I get a BP-8. Well, first, the first thing I do is I tell the cop that's on duty, hey, boss, I don't want to be in PC, man. I don't want to be here. I want to be on the main line. I want you to take me off main line. He's going to say, no, I'm not doing that, right? He's going to say, no, I'm not doing that, plain and simple. That's how it's going to go down. This is the bigger story is the misconduct. The bigger story is the misconduct. So when he says, no, we're keeping you in protective custody, you would then have to go through, or anything else for that matter. I mean, this is anything you want to go through, but you have to do a BP-8, right? It's your Bureau of Prison Form 8, a BP-8, a BP-9, a BP-10, a BP-11, a BP-12, and the 13th goes to a judge. And then you can actually go and get your stuff heard. And if you went in on the probation hearing, I don't know that you can request that stuff at a probation. And I'm blown away that a judge would go, yeah, I'm going to let you, knowing full well that the entire world knows that he testified against everybody in his organization. It might have happened. It might have happened. I mean, I honestly have no idea, but I think it's a death sentence. I like laws to be precise too. Same for everybody, right, man? Interesting. And I like the way you put it, man. Honestly, it's a pretty cool take. 6'9" is a part of this informant mafia, like Diddy, Rick Ross, DJ Khaled, French Montana, and Sean Carter. Allegedly. Of course, I'm not saying that. That would be a Poseidon nanobot. You hear that? Mr. Z, if you're angry, that was Poseidon nanobit. Don't want a lawsuit, people. He gets kind of rowdy, apparently, when you start using his name. Get my name out your mouth. It's a little different for that cat, right? He ain't going to slap you. He's going to slap you with a lawsuit. Scary. Barbara Aldrich, how are you? So, isn't that interesting? They all work for Clive. This is all a Mossad kid ring to keep the war money coming. You know something? Before anybody thinks, you know what, that's before you write off any theory in this one, you need to realize just how mother-loving entwined this is into our entire society. I'm not kidding. And we're at such a unique time right now in this country. It's a bizarre time, right, where we live with elections and everything that just happened. And a lot of stuff that was kind of taboo. I mean, let's keep it real. This will get demonetized because just the way that this thing works. They don't want you to say there are kids missing. In fact, that sentence right there probably just got this dinged. And that's, people go, how come nobody talks about it? How come no one talks about the kids? Because you're going to do it for free. You're going to do it for free. And that right there ought to scare the hell out of everybody. Right? It should. What? That me saying that? Why? Is it a big theory that's BS? Why are they going to ding me on that? Just doesn't make sense to me, man. Doesn't make sense to me. You know what they'll say? They'll say, advertisers don't want to put money on this kind of content. And then the funny thing is they're going to run ads anyway. The ads are going to be run. I'm just not going to get paid on them. Busby, quiet. Well, here's the thing. This, I am, as far as the Busby thing goes, I was going to probably do a whole show on Busby. I'm sick to my stomach about Busby. I really am. He's not shy. He's not lying. He's out in your face. You can buy your way out of this. Straight up. He is out in the world. You can buy your way out of this, but you better come to me because we're doing this. We're going. If you're one of those people, you better come to me. No joke, man. I'm not sure how any of that works. I'm not a lawyer, man. I'm not particularly bright. I understand the criminal part of it. I really do. But I don't understand how what he's doing is legal. I really don't. Gaslit, how are you? Diddy, how are you? What's the difference between I will let you kill this before we file it and I want to blackmail you? Like if I did it on the street and I'm not a lawyer and I said to him, hey, man, I got some photos of you, right? And you're going to give me $150,000 or I'm going to mail these to your wife and do a newspaper. That's blackmail, right? But if I go to 3 years of law school and pass the bar, it's called the catch and kill. Somebody make me understand that. Again, I'm not bright. Somebody make me understand that. You know what? Poseidon Nanobit's on fire. They all work for Universal Music Group. I believe this is their real money. To the missing, yeah, they were trading torture trophies. You know, the S film is gets brought up again and again and again, and I went down that rabbit hole. And there's just things on this planet that don't pass the sniff test, right? And when I went down the rabbit hole on that, what they said is they've never actually found a real one, right? That they've never actually found a copy of an actual, S film, right? The kind where you want to live somebody for somebody's entertainment. Said they've never found one. Now, here's the deal. There's no way on earth that could be true. I heard that and I was like, whoa. I mean, if they just came out and said, yeah, you know what? There are some people that do this, but it's so damn rare. No, it doesn't happen. Never even seen one. How can you possibly believe that with all the sick human beings on this planet, right? And all of the, I remember those movies too. God help us. This is a horrific rabbit hole, but God help us. Those movies were absolutely horrific, weren't they? I mean, for those of you who don't remember, you're lucky, but they were just horrific things you don't want to watch. People that were passing away from things that, and being shown for entertainment. And there's stuff on different platforms for people that get into that stuff. And it's just, gaslit. There's no way, and it's funny because I watched a video of somebody where the guy said, sometimes red shoes are just red shoes. And sometimes, a pizza is just a pizza. And I agree. There are times that they're not. There are times that is not what the hell that is. And they won't concede that, right? Give me that. Yeah? Tell me that. So we know this is going on, right? Honestly. It didn't get a whole lot of press, but they busted a brothel of sorts. It was on the east. It was on the East Coast, somewhere in the South. Can't remember exactly, but I remember reading the article. It was horrific. But they busted one, and they busted the people that were bringing the young ladies in. It was also tied to a couple of those Asian massage parlors. But this kind of crap is going on, and you start deep diving, you start looking into it, and then you realize as you're driving through the town that you live in that there's 25, maybe 30 Asian massage parlors in your town. And I'm not suggesting that every one of those is a rub and a tug spot. But if there are, even 3 or 4 of them, 1 or 2 of them, the people in there, by all accounts, don't want to be there, right? The people in there are being trafficked. You just hear it again and again and again. So the question becomes, logically as hell, how are they right there? How does this continue to happen? We're just cool with it? And again, I don't give a crap. If you want to sell yourself and somebody wants to buy it, I'm no prude, man. I'm not. No prude. But if you don't want to sell yourself and you got across the border because somebody helped you and you got to pull 9 months of letting, 9 guys a day molest you so that you can somehow live here, that's not worth this. This isn't worth it. It really isn't. And there's so many people moving. Amy D, you're so damn happy you missed that movie. I'm not joking. If a celeb gets in a lawsuit, they can't plead the fifth. They get deposed. Anything they say can be used against them in a criminal proceeding. The other thing is, if you're in a criminal proceeding and you say, I don't want to testify, the judge is going to say to the jury, just because Tommy doesn't want to testify, you should not take that as any sign at all pushing towards guilt, right? It's nothing like that. They don't get that speech. It's the exact opposite. You're expected damn well to testify, right? It's not one of those things where you could just sit on the sideline. You're screwed. I would rather jump in front of a boss. Honestly, if you've done any dirt in your life, right? Because everything's open game, everything's fair game. They can go over your entire life, so to speak. And my God, if they just went through the years I was partying, it's a nightmare scenario. It really is. Yeah. All the celeb parties, when invited, they thought they were someone. All of them were, to at least one. They all knew the things that were happening, whether involved, closed eyes, or ran away. Fact, right? Fact. Jen says, just real quick here, Jen says, it has been the same judge who's following him, and he or she seems to feel like he's going to change. It was on Law and Crime today. I'll be damned, because I'll tell you something. I don't know how you take somebody from the top tier of protective custody and you cut him loose in a unit. If somebody runs up and puts some steel in his side, right? Is that his fault? Is that the Bureau of Prisons' fault? Is it the judge's fault? Who can they sue on that? Because I promise you, as I said, so the organization he was a part of is one of those color kind of organizations. So everybody in your color hates you now, right? Because you're ratted. So they would like to take you out. But that opposing color, the ones that you're not allowed to wear those colors, or okay. The other color still wants to take him off the planet. They're not going to forgive him. As far as they're concerned, he's still going to be that other color forever. Forever. See this? I really am curious to know who is going to be held responsible, right? If by some chance something really, really bad happens to that handsome Tekashi dude. Because it's a possibility. And this happens to be a facility that is legendary for violence. It's legendary for drugs, right? Cell phones. This is it's in the middle of New York City, right? This is, if you get busted for a federal offense anywhere in the 5 boroughs, there's no other place to go. So everybody ends up at MDC Brooklyn, and people are going in to visit, right? They get visits. So stuff's going in, and I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 different guards have been prosecuted out of there for bringing stuff in. And this is just in the last couple of years. They really have a problem. And that big show that they put on, it was about 2 weeks ago now, I guess, where they just brought a crap load of, they called it an interagency operation. It sounded so much like they were trying to go in there because Diddy was there and all that. Britt P, good to see you. It's not one of those situations. I shouldn't say that. I highly doubt it. The entire time I was down, and my friend Casper would tell you the same thing. The whole time I was down, they do these all the time. They do these things all of the time. And they come in with dogs. And because normally in the Fed system, there's not a dog they're walking through there every day. There's not a dog on site. There's nothing. They bring in dope dogs when they need to bring in dope dogs. So they do these sweeps, and they put everybody out on the yard, right? Everybody goes outside. and then you stand on the yard really bummed out. Right? Really bummed out for 6 or 7 hours while you wait to see how badly they destroyed the place that you have to live in. I hated that. They take your pillow every single time. They take your pillow and throw it out because you're not allowed to have pillows, right? It's contraband. Can you imagine? A pillow is contraband. And the crazy thing is, my pillow, the first one that they took from me, it wasn't homemade. I bought it at another yard. I was at a yard that you could buy pillows on store. And like a dumbass, I just thought everywhere you went, it's just going to be like that everywhere. No. That was the yard that I was on with Casper, the one that I screwed up. You could have a pillow in that yard. That yard was so nice. I mean, honestly, if you had to be in prison, it felt less like prison than any place. It was Prisneyland. Honestly, the youth group dances were usually more violent. I'm kidding, but it wasn't as bad. The same people that push down the towers are behind the made drug in transport. You know what? It's why is a pillow contraband? I don't disagree with that necessarily. I wish I did. Why is a pillow contraband? There is absolutely no reason that a pillow ought to be contraband. But for whatever reason, maybe they're afraid that we're going to smother our cellmates with it. So instead, people just, oh, no. We were absolutely tougher in the 80s. We weren't. And we were tougher in the 90s than we were in the 2000s. It's just kind of that way, unfortunately. We have been getting softer, and we have been getting softer, and we have been getting softer. I'll tell you what. I saw a comedian, I think it was last night, and this comedian came out and did a whole set of jokes that, 7 months ago, probably would have had this person shot in the street, but it was comedy, and people were laughing at each other again. And you know what? That's a pretty good thing. I swear to God, that's a really good thing. If you can laugh at yourself, we take crap way too seriously, man. Yeah, if you know movies, some of the greatest villains are based on real people. Speaking of which, there was a film that came out in the 80s called New Jack City. Raise your hand if you remember New Jack City. Okay, several of you. All right. Here's the premise of the film. A guy named Nino Brown, right, who was played by Wesley Snipes, takes over a project building, right, like a high rise that is for low income housing. It's a project, and they go in and take it over. They run everybody out, or they force them to live in one spot, and they turn it into the world's biggest crack house. It's basically the premise, right? That they turn this. And they're running it like a bank. People come and put their money in this little slot. The thing comes back out. Just insane, right? But that's the premise. But it was Nino Brown was based on a real guy, right? They based that film on a real dude. And that real dude was in the same prison I was in. And it was, I cracked up because you meet him and they're like, that's Nino Brown. And I'm like, what? The guy that they made the movie about, that's Nino Brown. And, he wasn't but about 5'6". Like he didn't look like a huge imposing guy at all, but apparently he did a lot of dealing. You know what? I continually say this, right? I continually say this. See, Diddy knew Wesley Snipes. That's the first time you saw what it was like to be on crack. You know what? They don't do a bad job of, obviously it's over the top, right? Obviously they take what really happens and they amplify it. It's not like they're making it up. There's a film called Requiem for a Dream. There's a film called Requiem for a Dream. And the thing is, if you're an addict, right, they're injecting the brown stuff. Right. Might have been clear in the movie, but it was H, right? It wasn't the other. And as they're making the movie, every time a person bangs in the film, every time a person puts something in their vein in the film, they immediately film the eyes, right? And the eyes go like this and get bigger, right? Instantly get bigger. And it's the exact opposite of what happens. It's the exact opposite of what happens. And the first time I saw it with a friend of mine. We put it on, we started watching. He's like, didn't they say that was H? I go, yeah. And he goes, why did they do that then? It makes your pupils constrict. It drove me nuts. I'm telling you, it drove me nuts. But I'm not kind of an idiot. I don't think it is possible with all the drugs that Diddy was giving to people without their knowledge not to have some deaths on his hands. Fed should dig deeper. Sure, they will find it. You know something? I've been screaming this from Jump Street. I've been screaming this from the very beginning because it does not make any sense. It's not that predictable a substance, any of them. Somebody sent, there was a message that somebody said, what's the difference between Special K, ketamine, and GHB? And both of them could be used to make a person incapacitated. But if you did it on ketamine, I mean, if they're even remotely conscious, they're going to remember a lot of what happens. It doesn't wipe your memory out. You know what I mean? Like I remember every K-hole incident and every time I had a bad time on ketamine. You don't black out on that, but you sure as hell do on gamma hydroxybutyrate, right? You sure as hell do. However, the number of cocktails that you have in a night will greatly increase how that substance is going to work on you. So how do they know? The person coming in, and for all they know, the person coming in has been doing this stuff, right? They got to have it. That's their favorite stuff. You're obviously going to have to give them way more than you're going to have to give the person that's never done any of it. Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense, does it not? Well, how the hell do you know any of these things? Especially the party the size of the ones that they were throwing. But they've been talking to male sex workers. And what keeps coming out of this, right? These freak-offs were not at the white party. These freak-offs, were not at, he didn't seem to do these at home. Right? He didn't seem to, the freak-offs seemed to be done in hotel rooms. Every person that they've talked to said, this hotel room, that hotel room, whatever. I liked Requiem for a Dream, by the way. I'm not crapping on the film. I thought the film was fine. Just drove me nuts with the whole pupil thing. Absolutely drove me nuts. Yeah, the party she was going to. It's not a feel-good movie, but they don't make films about dope that are feel-good movies. You know what I mean? If realistic, I think while that is a very realistic movie, I think Train Spotting might be a little bit more realistic. That to me, that's the that movie is so realistic that watching it, I'm screwed up for days if I watch that film. I really am. I'll have to sit down and journal. And it's just, here we go. What do we got? Kestrel agrees with me. Train Spotting was awesome. Special K is different from pharmaceutical ketamine infusions it's used to take for pain management. It's very often it'll be the same substance, right? It's not like they're making it in a bathtub, right? Very often it's still the pharmaceutical stuff, but they're not doing it in the amounts that you were doing it, right? They're doing it in considerably higher doses, yeah, just higher doses. Train Spotting is good and it's scarring. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable film, but it's an uncomfortable substance, right? It's a really uncomfortable substance. You guys are right about the accidental deaths. I heard the billionaire spirit seller's dad died of, fake pneumonia. There's no way to tell. There's no way to tell. And you realize that one of the most popular drugs it was really getting into its own in the 90s were people doing Xanax in higher dosages, right? The bars were not a thing when I was young. Like they weren't doing Xanny bars. That really started to get popular and start really to getting abused in the 90s. So you got people going to these parties that probably ate a bar or two, right? So ate a bar, had a couple of cocktails. There's no way that if they're using this stuff, especially, the whole, they're putting it on people's body through baby oil. I don't know, man. I don't know. The more I think about that, the less sense it makes. And maybe I'm wrong. Do we know if the so as of right now, there is only one victim, allegedly, in this particular case they're prosecuting him on. There is victim one, right? And people were flown in to abuse victim one. We know who victim one is, right? They're not using her name, but we know exactly who victim one is right? This is Cassie's lawsuit. They just took it and turned it into a prosecution, but everything in there is everything is wow. It is not trauma-informed, Shannon K. Shannon K says, a former colleague showed Requiem to a Dream to clients at a treatment setting. Had to shut it down because it is not trauma-informed. I'll tell you something. That is not a good film to show because it's going to go in one of two directions. It's either going to make the person crawl into a hole, right, get really, really weird and sort of introvert, or it's going to make them want to use. I mean, viciously want to use. I don't get that from Trainspotting. Trainspotting was a film that was so real and tough that I couldn't romanticize any part of that. But I'll tell you something: the scene in Pulp Fiction, I can't watch Pulp Fiction. Like I gotta leave the room for that scene. I'm not being funny. It just, that scene kills me. But you live and learn, right? I'm never going to look at it again. I just won't. It's not fun. Spock. I found that evil usually triumphs unless good is very, very careful. Yeah. Yeah. What is a bar? A bar is, so Xanax used to come in these little like football shaped tablets that were most often blue, but they could have been other colors if they're generics or whatever. But it's alprazolam is the drug. And it used to come in like quarter of a milligram, half a milligram, and then 1 milligram tablets. And they look like a football. And they had a line down the middle of them so you could split them. And then all of a sudden they started to make these Xanax that looked almost like Pez, right? Except they were a little bit thinner and a little bit longer, but they're about that long, right? And they look like a bar. And there's way more on them. You can get them up to like 5. I think 5 milligrams is the highest I ever saw, were 5 milligram bars. So people are doing, if my generation was doing a half a milligram, right, as a pharmaceutical dose, we're talking about 5 milligrams, right? Compared to a half a milligram. It's just a lot of a very, very strong a drug that it's a respiratory depressant, right? This is it's a benzodiazepine, so it's a tranquilizer, but it's one that really, really is tough on respiration, right? You should never. Jarhead says, I think 5. Thank you. Yeah, James Sharp, the Xanny bar, right? Alprazolam, Xanax bar. It's just a lot of alprazolam. And that, if you've never done that, Jarhead has done it. If you've never done this, you should think in terms of its closest neighbor is probably alcohol, right? Honestly, its closest cousin is probably alcohol, because it does the same kind of thing. It lowers your inhibitions, right? And then it F's with your decision-making process. Think of those two things. What a great combination that is. First thing it does is make you, right? No inhibitions. You can go out there and go wild. And then, the part of you that would go, hey, man, put your shirt back on and stop dancing at the bar. That part of you has checked out for the evening. It's, and then throw a little bit on that, right? Put a little alcohol on there. In the rehab community and in the recovery community, they have an expression: 1 + 1 = 3. And what they mean is if you've taken one Xanax, right, in a bar or whatever, and then you take one drink, it's not like it doubles the strength of it. It's like it triples the strength of it. And it starts getting frightening if somebody's had 6 cocktails, 2 Xanax bars, and the next thing you know, somebody's hitting them up with some G. I don't know how there wouldn't be people gone unless by some chance they got a full-time doctor on staff. Oh, Brock, I'm sorry to hear that. Here's the thing with this. Everybody listen up. I am not a doctor, right? But if you're planning on getting off of a benzodiazepine, or if you're planning on getting off of alcohol, you don't quit cold turkey. You feel me? And not because it's a bad idea, because it can kill you, right? Plain and simple. And you go, oh man, I drank way too much and quit so many times. I'm saying if you have acute alcohol, like if you are in there, if you're drinking enough alcohol where if you don't drink, you get sick from it, cold turkey can take you off the planet. You go into the delirium tremens, people start seeing stuff, they start shaking. James Sharp, I get it. James Sharp says, I believe I lost sleep over the Tekashi 6ix9ine sentencing, or the lack of. He got nothing. So please, my friend, if by some chance your boy is considering getting off of those off the benzos, please make sure that he works with a doctor and that they step him off over a long period of time. It's so damn essential. I cannot stress it enough. The second leading cause of death in county jails in the United States of America is acute alcohol withdrawal. Do you know how you keep somebody from getting bumped off with acute alcohol withdrawal? You give them benzodiazepines, because benzos do the same thing to you that booze does. So you could treat one with the other, and the other way around, right? The other way around too. But talk to a doctor before you do any quitting of either of those substances, alcohol or benzos. And the best case scenario is you talk to a doctor before you quit anything, because very often they can help you with either medical assisted treatment or at least some damn good advice. Let you know you're in store for, so that when those symptoms start coming, you don't think, oh my God, right? I'm going to die. What is this? Kicking opiates like H, you're not going to die from it. You're going to wish you were, but you're not going to die from it unless you have a pre-existing condition of some kind. Like you got a massively weak heart or something along those lines. It could take you out, but just on its general face, it couldn't. I should say couldn't, because with the Fent, I think all bets are off. And now we got nitazines, which are stronger than Fent, right? And they're all over the U.S. It's the newest disgusting substance out there. And just to make sure that it's, the scariest and gnarliest thing out there, they put a little horse tranquilizer in there, something called xylazine. And the combo of the two, of course, is called Trank. Lovely. If you've ever looked up Kensington, it's a part of Pennsylvania. It's one little part of a city. And it is absolutely decimated. It's destroyed by Fent and by Trank. And as you drive down the street, you will see people bent over at the waist, either forward or backward. These are the shots that everybody says they look like zombies. And the headings, they all put zombie this, zombie that. And you know what? They look like zombies. Hey, Just Joan. They look like zombies, and it's not funny, right? It's sad, but they really do look exactly like zombies. It's a terrifying substance. Interesting. I think the people that have been moving the drugs in that gray web found that got them deleted is the same people that are being protected behind this Diddy thing. You know what? Every time you turn around, you go, you can't trust anybody. Every time you turn around, you go, they're going to kick you in the teeth. They're lying to you. I promise you, what you think you know, you don't know, right? Those gray web guys, right? One of the biggest sites of people that were really moving chemicals on the web was Silk Road. And the person that was running Silk Road was managing to fly under the radar, right? The dread the Dread Pirate, the Dread Pirate, Dread Scott Pirate Scott Dread, something like that. It's the same thing from The Princess Bride. It was the code name that they were calling him, and they had every single agency you could possibly get your hands on working in undercover and all kinds of things to try to break into this dude's little group or whatever. And you know what happened, right? Okay, throughout this investigation, so many federal people involved in this case got arrested and prosecuted. I mean, multiple, not one agent, multiple. Because when you got that close to that much money, Dread Pirate Roberts, thanks, Britt P. Thank you, Dread Pirate Roberts, and they got him. They got him, but not before convicting people for stealing large amounts of money, right? Being involved, because when you put the kind of temptation that is available out there in front of people that don't make the kind of money, you imagine being a cop and watching Diddy come in, you're working security and you're watching this fool dancing on stage holding 4 stacks of, or this 6'9" fella. Every time you see him, he's got 50 grand in his hands. I mean, I'm not sure why that's cool, but every time you see him, right? Just stacks of money. Stacks of it. It's good for society, man. It's good for society that this is what kids aspire to be, isn't it? I'll tell you what. So there's a prevailing theory, and I know you've all heard it, that all of this is just designed to pump people into the prison system. That the private prison system, they're doing everything they can to make sure that people stay in that. I'm not sure I can get behind that. I understand. And I understand why people think it, because it kind of lines up. It really does. But if you look at the nation's prisons and you look at the private ones, I mean, what they're doing is there's only a couple of spots that you're going to be able to hit for these private prisons, but you're filling up every single prison in the U.S. And it just seems almost, it's not very efficient, I guess. That's a stupid way to put it, but it just doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me, but I could be wrong. I certainly understand why people say it. And when you start looking at the money amounts, right, of these massive corporations, a lot of whom are, these are companies that make more money than countries do, right? Like their annual revenue is more than the gross domestic product of almost every country out there. It's frightening. Gray Webb was the guy who found that government informants were moving drugs in the country for pew-pews. I'll be damned. Ingesting cannabis from edibles versus smoking the green. Is the high any different? Is the body high versus head change? My experience with gummies is somewhat limited. And not that I didn't do them. I still do them. But I eat them like 20 minutes before I lay down to go to sleep to try to stave off recurring nightmares that were absolutely hell. And it has worked beautifully for me. But for me, it's a body buzz. Like I had a really horrific migraine and I was getting ready to lay down and I thought, if I fall asleep, this migraine is going to, I won't be dealing with this. I just got to fall asleep. So I took a gummy, but the headache wouldn't allow me to go to sleep. And it was a body buzz. Like I didn't enjoy it at all. I mean, it was very like melted to the bed kind of a thing. But it is 2024. And I will say again, if you can avoid lighting anything on fire and breathing it into your lungs, I would recommend that you do that. Just a personal thing. But I think that in 2024, man, we got to do better. Yeah, you know what? They've actually been. I have been doing a little better, right? I mean, once I said I don't care, I'm going to try the gummy thing because of what I do here. I felt like it was a bad look, And I'm sure it still is for a lot of people, but never been an anti-drug channel, man. I'm an anti-addiction channel, and I'm all about harm reduction. If you can't quit, slow the hell down. If you're listening to the sound of my voice and you're like, there's just no way I can quit, man. There's just no way I can quit. All right. What are you drinking? 100 drinks a week? What are you drinking? 150? Seriously, figure it out. And if you're drinking 150, let's shoot for 148 next week, right? You don't even have to make massive progress, but you got to make progress. It would be nice if you could knock out 1 or 2 shots a day. But whatever it is, start doing harm reduction. Man. Start doing harm reduction. LRM, I respect your right to disagree. Deborah, I think I believe, and here's the thing. I started out the absolute. I mean, I was so anti harm reduction. You couldn't find anybody that was more anti-harm reduction. I was all or nothing. I was you got sober or you don't get sober. But it's all or nothing. And if somebody quit doing something, but they picked up a different habit, well, all news are off. Dev, big news. Okay. Big news. You're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. But after working this for more than 4 years now and watching what everybody goes through and watching all of the people that have been successful and all of the people that have failed and all of the people that we've lost, this has been a revelation. And I would prefer the other way, I promise you. But harm reduction, I'm not saying everybody should do harm reduction. If you're able to quit, you should quit. But if you can't, harm reduction, right? Harm reduction and quitting eventually will run into each other, and at that point you're done. But harm reduction is a beautiful thing. Felons can't vote in most states, depending on what kind of felon, I guess. Usually once you're off paper, you can. In some states, you have to file to get your rights back, but I vote. And I got a lot of felonies. I got a lot of them. Big news, former MDC inmate says they all love Diddy. And they're fighting over who gets to make his bed and do things for him. They are jealous of who he gives attention to. Well, it sounds good. It sounds good. But by all accounts, he's in solitary confinement, right? He's not in a unit. The special manager, special housing unit, the SHU, the SHU is not a unit you can walk around in. The SHU is not a unit where somebody could be in your cell. But it sounds good. It definitely sounds good. And somebody may have come out to say that because they're going to get a hell of a lot of clicks and a hell of a lot of views. But the segregated housing unit, if you leave your cell, you have your hands cuffed behind your back. If he's in a dorm now, then I got people that need to really, really tighten up their game. Because I got some people that have been really great about telling me what's been going on in MDC Brooklyn. But if that's happening, they're dropping the ball. Anka says, I'm a qualified pharmacy dispenser, but I moved to healthcare assistant for a few years now. Tommy knows more about certain meds than... well, thank you. That's a very kind thing to say. I did spend a hell of a lot of time reading about this stuff. I really did. And I spent a lot of time doing it, and it makes it a little bit easier. It makes it easier if you were in it, sort of remembering everything. I do remember when they said that, look, so many things they told us were fake. So many things they told us we were idiots to believe. Deb, I hope not too. Here's the thing. I honestly have somebody that works there. And when they said that to me, I said, sure you do, right? Sure you do. But I got an email of his ID, right? Person's legit. And I think I'd have heard that, man. I think I'd have heard that. But it's a very odd thing. I don't know. It could be wrong. I cannot see them putting that cat in a dorm, right? For so many reasons. For so many reasons. The ability for him to get information from one of these people out, because when you're in a dorm, the people in that dorm are leaving at any given time, right? Every day, someone's going somewhere in the facility. The reason that they segregate up the, hey, Debbie Blair, the reason they segregate up the unit is to make sure that people cannot do exactly what we're talking about, right? You can't really build those bonds. They may have moved him to a dorm. Wow, that would be really something. That really would. Whoa. You know something? This has always been exactly what I thought. This has always been exactly what I thought, right? Got clean from heroin 20 years ago after trying for 10 years. If I can get clean, so can you. That has been my mantra. I swear to God, if I can get off that crap, you guys can get off anything, right? I was the most degenerate drug addict you've ever met. I believed wholeheartedly that I would die using. There was no way I could get through days without it. Not days, much less weeks or months, or just no chance. I had a ridiculous habit, man. A ridiculous habit. 7 grams, sometimes more than that daily. I did a lot of dope. It was bad. You know what? Poseidon, I know who you're talking about. Let's see. Yeah. Putting spells on. I watched an interview with a guy that was talking about that. Sorry, people, because it's just a quick tangent. But I was watching a video where somebody said that they would go into this little sanctum inside the one of the large buildings that houses one of the big recording houses. They would go into the inner sanctum and they would bring in the original masters or whatever and do some kind of weird ceremony over them. And it's really, really creepy crap. It really is. It kind of blows my mind. And I think a lot of stuff is just, if you play this backwards, if you play that backwards, it does that. A lot of the stuff is hype, but a lot of it isn't, man. A lot of it just isn't. No possible way he's in a dorm. If you believe he is, you know nothing about the system. It's kind of a stretch. The problem becomes the BOP will be on the hook if somebody tries to rub this dude out, right? I saw a video the other day and the thumbnail said, Diddy found dead on the floor of his cell. Swear to you. Diddy found dead on the floor of his cell. I was like, holy crap, right? How did I miss this? Because it didn't happen. But it looked like, what a chyron is? The little thing that goes across the bottom of the screen like they always have on CNN and everything else. Well, this video had a chyron cruising across the bottom of the screen. I mean, it looked good. Damn, it looked good. But obviously, he's still with us. Clive is the one who brought up these rituals. Well, I'll be damned. I think that he's got cloven feet, man. For real. I think that the guy is 7 kinds of evil, right? No doubt. Bifurcated tail, carries a hay fork. You know what I mean? Red scaly complexion. The guy's Satan. He really is. He's bad people. Bad people, allegedly. Allegedly, everybody says that the things that Diddy is doing right now, he learned from Clive Davis, right? And there are, for the first time the other day, his name has come up in this case. But I was going to do that a little later in the day, so we will. Do I think anyone else is going to go down? Yeah, I do. I don't know to what degree, right? I don't know exactly what... to what degree? I was in the feds. I was definitely in the feds. Just real quick, I think that people are going to go down, but I don't think you're going to see massive prison terms because I think the federal government is turning people. I think that they're taking people and I'll just use an example, and I don't know that this is true, right? I'm just giving an example because it's a great one. Remember the kid that was on the airplane and he was carrying some 2C and some pills and some stuff? And he was Diddy's drug mule, right? Well, that's a young white kid who probably would rather not be hemmed up in this because if he's the guy that's getting Diddy all the dope, if that dope in any way got used to assault somebody at one of these freak offs, well, the little kid from the airplane is looking at a crap load of time, right? He's a part of this. The RICO thing, he's a part of it, right? He could be just as culpable as the guy that was in there making it happen. That's kind of what RICO gives you the opportunity to do, right? To charge everybody that's part of this criminal enterprise, all the people that are pulling the same direction. You can hit them all up on one case. So I think they're turning people, but I don't think we're going to see these people get 30 years in prison. I think there's going to be a lot of slaps on wrists so that they can bury Diddy. Could be wrong, but I think that's where they're going to try to go with. If this is not a sham. If this is not a sham. Because as I said earlier, I think they've already decided, right? We're having fun, prognosticating, acting like armchair quarterbacks and kind of picking stuff apart. But I think that more often than not, all of this stuff is theater. Sadly, I kind of feel that way. You feel like I'm whispering? Does it sound like I'm whispering? Got a 5x5? Do I sound bad? I'm really sorry, Carol. I was in the feds during the C. What was it like? They locked us down, right? They locked us down in a way that we've never been locked down before. And the really funny thing is, they locked us down and they don't air condition, right? There's not air conditioning. It's just air. They move around so that the air isn't stagnant. You feel me? So you're in this little petri dish and it's blowing air from my cell to the cell next to me, which is going to the cell next to him. And the whole thing's a damn loop. So locking us in a room, what good does that do? I mean, it was honestly just, it make you scratch your head. It didn't make any sense, It didn't make any sense. Yeah, I do think that, do I think someone from the government is pulling Courtney's string? No, I do not. By the way, I left during that C+ math thing, right? And they came and, stuck that thing about that far up your nose, right? Till it touches the back of your brain. They did that to me on a Monday. They did that to me on a Tuesday. I think I did it 4 times, right? The 4 days in a row before I left. They shoved this thing, so far up my, I could not believe how far it kept going. Like her hand was getting close to my face. I was like, you got to be kidding, man. You can't do it. You can't put something that far in you. It's just not healthy. Not healthy, man. Not healthy. Here's my problem. I agree with you, right? So they were trying to make sure that nobody hid any evidence, right? That's why all of the places they hit at the exact same time. Literally. Like they were at the end of the street and they were like, go. And, both caravans came in so that no one would have an ability to call the people on the West Coast or to tip off or they could see it. But did they call the press first? Seriously. And if they did, why? We watch the military looking vehicles. We watch them go down the driveway, right? With people holding on to the sides of it and all that. Who are those people taking the cameras? Who's filming? At the same time that they're doing that, you can see the helicopter above the head. The door hasn't been kicked in yet, right? It's not even quite a raid yet. How did they find out that fast that raid was taking place? Does that make any sense to you? Huh? Look at this hand. Look at this hand. Pow. Right? For real. A lot of this is starting to feel like BS. I'm sorry. It is. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. But it just seems like such a dumpster fire, man. As far as Courtney Burgess goes, I do not think Courtney Burgess is working for the government, right? I don't. I think Courtney got in over his head. I don't think he had any idea. I think he thought he was going to go on and do a couple of interviews and get his name out there a little bit. And when the second book was sold, that he'd be able to cash in on that a little bit. Certainly Todd got kind of famous on the first one, right? And a lot of these books sold. So what an opportunity to sell the ones that haven't been edited. Huh? Are you kidding? I mean, that's money, right? What a great idea. However, you got to remember the things that you say. And there was a video where he said he got it from Kim. There was a video where he said that he got it from Shakir Stewart, right? And in another video, he said, or no, I'm sorry, he didn't. But somebody else said he got it from Todd. Who knows, right? Hi, Angela. Welcome. I love that. So it gets scary when you see all of these moving pieces are going around, and they don't seem to be making a lot of sense. You feel me? Ariel is I'll tell you what, she's brave. That's no joke, man. That woman's brave. Say what you will about her, man. But she's brave. Any other attorney when Jaguar popped on, when all of these, I mean, that looked like like the panel on a Jerry Springer show, and she hung in there, man. Like, I will give her respect for that. I honestly, I think any other lawyer might have just gone and disappeared. You know what's a little disturbing? Huh? Do you know what's a little disturbing? I've seen some still shots. People have sent to me, and I've said it so many times. Even blanking stuff out, I wouldn't feel comfortable running with them because I don't know. I don't know at all if they're fake. I don't know at all if they're real. And I'm not good enough to spot stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know what so-and-so's body looks like in real life, right? So if they're just putting a head on a body, or they're whatever they're doing, they're AI in this thing. So I wasn't particularly, I didn't feel comfortable with it. But the guys over at TMZ, right? You ever seen them talk about it? They got a movie, right? They got a freak off tape. And they said it is exactly like a porno. It's just a porn film with Diddy directing it. And allegedly, you don't see him in the video because he's shooting a porn, but you'll see him sort of step in and out of it as he's maybe moving a light or doing this because he's into it, man. He's into it. I think he saved those tapes to get offers on them. Well, I'll tell you what, it certainly ain't hurting Busby, is it? He is unapologetically selling these things to the people that are on them. How do you feel about that? For real. If you think that's dirty, if you think that's filthy, put a 2 in the chat. For real. Do I think Berry Gordy was just as dirty in his day? You know what? I kind of feel bad. I kind of feel bad when I start to think about or I start to comment on people that are gone. I feel horrible for Johnny Cochran. And since then, like, I remember people used to say the guy was a great attorney, right? Mostly twos. Yeah, mostly twos. I don't want to beat on Johnny Cochran, right? But when I come out and I say allegedly this thing was bought off, people go, "Oh, he was a scumbag. That dude was such a dirtbag." And it's like, I'm not trying to taint the reputation of a dead guy. I don't know about Berry Gordy. I really don't. But I would have said Quincy Jones is probably clean. And apparently there's a lot of smoke around Quincy Jones, man. There's a lot of smoke around Quincy Jones. Hey, Dale Cox, good to see you. "6ix9ine is an industry plant, pushed an agenda, and probably pissed one of his handlers off." You know what? Here's the deal. I look at a guy like that dude, right? Who, from what appeared to be day one, was dripping in gold and platinum and diamonds and, right? You know, the Italian cars and the Louis Vuitton shoes and every day a different watch. I'm a watch guy. You wouldn't believe some of the watches these guys sport. But Nobody gets that successful that fast. I do believe there are things like industry plants. And I think we know at this point, I don't think anybody at this point doesn't believe that they pick people and go, we're going to make this person famous. We're going to make them famous. And I don't mean like you would Taylor Swift or somebody that, they can find somebody that has absolutely no talent, can't write their own stuff, can't sing, and they auto-tune them and they get a really good rapper. And you hear stories about, how B.I.G. was writing tunes for everybody, just sitting in there cranking out tunes for everybody. They got writers. They got people that are just spitting out lyrics so that these no talent having people that just become part of this big entourage of ditties that he can continue to have fun with. Blackmail, make them come to parties, make them do whatever. Nick says, Millie Vanilli. Good to see you, Mom. Glad that you're here. Sassy Savage says, I remember the payola stories back in the day. Yeah, for anybody that doesn't remember payola, they were making stars back in the day too. But the way you did it was, you went down while you were in town. You went to all the radio stations in New York and you said, "Hey man, can you play that Tommy Scoville album a little more? We're really trying to push this, man. Is there any chance?" I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff. How about if I gave you, I don't know, $600, right? At a time when that was a crap load of money. And they did it everywhere. They did it everywhere, right? Yeah. Awful, man. Awful. Hey, good for you, Del Cox, man. I hope you have a very good day, my brother. I hope you have a very good day. So this is where we're at, people. And here's my fear. We'll finish it up with my fear. Here's my fear. My fear is that somehow they're going to get this into court, right? Somehow that this DeWitt Gilmore fella is going to get them to say, yeah, we can bring this case in. I know it's 20 years past the statutes of limitations, but this is new news, right? This is brand new news. We have new evidence. If this happens, the floodgates are going to open up in a way that you've never seen. We'll have a Busby of sorts, or maybe Busby himself, but we'll have an attorney who is taking shots at the exact same way. Put up a new 800 number, right? Did he pistol whip you? Did he shoot at you? Did he threaten you? Did he try to run you over with a car? Did he punch you in the face? Any of those, right? Call 1-800 I got hit. It's not funny. But if this happens, it's going to go like this. Boom. As it is right now, this looks like such a dumpster fire that, can he get a fair trial? Oh my God. He can get grounds for appeal. I guarantee you that they're right now coming up with everything they're going to appeal this case on. Because it's just a crap show. All of the stuff that's happening, I don't like the dude. I don't. I want to see him go to prison forever, but 1-800 diddled. Sub Rosa for the win. Sub Rosa for the win. That's really funny. I'm sorry. I find that funny. I really do. Diddy parties are like Sodom and Gomorrah, but probably a little worse. I'm not being funny. Seeing a woman, right? Seeing a woman standing there holding a light with a shade over it like she's a lamp, right? You're going to stand there with this above your head for the duration of the party and change them out in shifts or whatever. Who does this? Right? Someone that wants to control people. Someone that wants the world to look at them and go, yeah, you know what? Look at that. That chick's hotter than anybody you'd ever have at your parties, and I got her holding a lampshade over her head with a light on it. Huh? How do you like them apples? He's a sick dude, man. It's a really, really sick crew. I believe some people's success railroaded others with witchcraft and games, like Derrick Rose and LeBron, Carrie and Beyonce, Jay and Nas, Diddy and Big, Suge and Pac. Damn. You didn't leave anybody out. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Will Smith isn't on there, is he? No. Will Smith and his wife probably should have been on that list. Allegedly. They're pretty damn odd, right? They're pretty damn odd. Look at the way they treat their kids, right? Just look at the way they treat their kids, man. It's the foulest crap you've ever seen in your entire life. The guy kisses his son on national television, man. Yeah. He's just, what a freak, man. And poor brother Blau said that. He said that. How did he say this? He said that Will Smith had a pinky toe, right? But Jada was more accustomed to a baby's arm. I'm not trying to be nasty, but this is what was said. Right? This is what Brother Blau said. Really awful, man. The eye of Horus, the left-hand path. Ugly. Do you know that when I got to prison, this is a true story, and I guarantee you that anybody that you ask that has been, especially the feds, I don't know about every state joint, but you get into the feds and you walk through the door. And when I got to FCI Terre Haute, the dude rolled up on me and he was like, hey, do you get high? And I'm like, yeah. By this time I was, I'd been done a lot of time. And I said, hey, I want to kind of chill, I want to get the lay of the land before I start fronting dope and doing all kinds of crap like that. And he says to me, oh, no, you don't have to front it. And I'm like, I don't have cash. He goes, I want to buy your soul. Swear to God. I said, you want to do what? And he goes, I want to buy your soul. He's like, there's a contract you signed. He goes, it's just a contract. He's like, and I'll give you a paper, meaning 50 or $100, right? Depending on the size. But he's like, and I'll give you a paper, right? And I go, no, I'm good, bro. I said, my soul's not even for rent. And the guy next to me goes, wait a sec, man. All I got to do is sign this paper, right? And I don't got to do anything else. He goes, no, but you're saying I own the soul. He's like, yeah, bring me the paper. And I don't know, creeps me the hell out. It creeps me out. Dude asked me like 3 times. The third time he asked me, I'm like, bro, I'm going to punch you in the. I almost said that. Sorry. I'm going to smack you in the throat the next time you ask me that. Right? I'm going to jab you right in the throat. It doesn't make any marks. One good one in the throat. But no joke. This was a very, very big thing in prison. People trying to buy souls. I don't know what the hell they do with all that paper, but there's a weirdo on every yard that does it. Yeah, right. Babylon gets weirder by the day. You know what? We'll go one more, man. Right? We'll go one more. Went down to the crossroads, like Bob Dylan described. Made a deal with the chief commander, or sometimes called Scratch. Right? You go down to the crossroads, and who was the first guy? Robert Johnson. I think the first guy they ever said went down there was Robert Johnson. And the story goes that he couldn't play a note. Like, he was awful, just a terrible guitarist. He could play, but he just wasn't any good, right? People said he was awful. And allegedly, he went down to the crossroads, right? It was a dirt road. And Scratch came up behind him and tapped him. And he handed the guy his guitar without looking at him. And he tuned it for him. And from that moment on, it was on and cracking. Guy could play anything, but he gave up his soul. That's the story, right? So when you hear those songs, going down to the crossroads, that's what they're singing about. I promise you. Who sings about putting Bible pages up your coochie to get a man? Beyonce. Diddy? I swear to God, that was not on my bingo card today. I'm sorry, what? Who sings about putting Bible pages up your coochie to get a man? It's a spell? Good Lord in heaven. I'm telling you, I don't listen to Beyonce. I believe the woman's a witch, but I've never listened to one song she does. And I'll tell you what, probably ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan. It's in her lyrics. I believe you. I absolutely believe you. I honestly, if it came with a paycheck, I don't think you could sit me down and listen to it. I'm not 100% convinced. And go ahead and laugh at me, man. But I'm not 100% convinced that this kind of stuff getting into your head doesn't just completely jack you up. I mean it. I think that there is a tremendous amount of power in music. And I think the kind of stuff that we let into ourselves does different things to us, right? And I mean this. And the point of reference that we always used to joke about was, or use as an illustration, was back in the day, Johnny and I went to a party. And when we got there, they were playing Bob Marley and the Wailers, right? Everybody just happy as hell, sort of. And then You Got to Fight for Your Right to Party by the Beasties came on. And this was a new song at that point, right? It was still probably in the top 40. And instantly, everybody went from being the coolest party in the whole world to punches getting thrown and tables getting broken. And as we were leaving, right, my brother says, I think we would have been set if they didn't put on the Beastie Boys. Music does incredible things, man. Music does incredible things. A British witch writes songs with Beyonce. That's a fact, says Diddy. And I got no reason to doubt you, huh? No reason to doubt you. There are some songs are so satanic it's scary, like Dark Horse from Katy Perry. Katy Perry's. Have you ever seen the video of Katy Perry's eye doing the where she looks like a robot that's having a malfunction on stage? You guys know what I'm talking about? Deuce in the chat if you have any idea what I'm talking about, because if you don't, I'm not going to keep talking about this because it's going to make me sound like an absolute idiot. But there is a clip of film of her on stage where it looks like her eye's not human. Like her eye starts doing this one, right? Flashing up and down and doing this number. And she puts her hand up like this, like you can Google it. You can Google Katy Perry's eye goes bat crap crazy. I'm kidding, but you can Google that any way you want. If you just put in Katy Perry's eye glitch, that would definitely do it for you. And you can tell me what you think. You can tell me if you think that looks human to you, or if you think that looks weird, or if you think that's normal or evil. Or I'll tell you something, man. I'm not a young dude. I've been around. I've never seen anything like that particular clip. The flood, the Anunnaki, etc. Genesis 6, I think you're talking about? Never heard of it. I know what you're talking about. It's not human, says Kirsten. It's scary as hell, man. It's scary as hell. Sub Rosa says, Katy Perry's Super Bowl performance is absolutely an occult ritual. Well, there's a lot of that going around. We've let it jump the curb. I don't remember which award ceremony it was recently, but the whole show looked like guy came out with devil horns, and it was just, but when people complained about it and said this is downright satanic, the large company that bankrolled the project said, we're ready to worship. That was their response in a tweet. Yeah, we're ready to worship. Holy crap, man. Like, even if you're being funny, you want to talk about starting a whole outpouring of people that are going to freak out and start thinking that you're something. Why would anyone do that? Frightening to me, man. Frightening to me. Allegedly, Beyonce's sister Solange has been seen buying witch supplies in New Orleans. Old news. There's only one problem. Honestly, there's only one problem with that. I'm not that dude in any way, shape, or form, but I've spent a crap load of time in New Orleans, and they got this short little section of the city that's like the voodoo section, and they sell their stores, they're tourist stores, like big popular tourist stores that sell like voodoo dolls and all kinds of crap like this. Now, I personally don't buy the stuff, but I remember the first time I went in, I was really young the first time I went in, but a lot of people go wandering through there. Have I heard of panda eyes? Yes, I have. Yes, I have heard of panda eyes, and certainly it has an awful lot to do with everything we're talking about. Yeah, everything we're talking about. Okay, so listen, one more other thing real quick. This is probably getting beat to death, and I'm not sure, whether or not I want to take the time to talk about it. But you guys know that this Mr. Beast, you may have heard him. He's got a small YouTube channel as well. I think he may have the biggest YouTube channel on the planet, right? He's got all of the subs. You're probably all subs because everybody is a sub to him. I'm not personally, but yeah, absolutely. Like this is a huge dude, and he's apparently not the guy that everybody thought he was, and a lot of crap's coming out of him. I love. How about the Garden Song by Pete Seeger? The Garden Song. This land is your. I know a lot of Woody. I don't know that I know the Garden Song by Pete Seeger. Angie says can't stand Mr. Beast. Nope, he's a bad one. Okay, so yeah, then so looks like you don't want me to take the time to beat on Mr. Beast. A lot of people are doing it. There may not be a reason to shoot a video on it. It's odd the way it went down. It really is. It's odd. But I unsubbed from the Beast about 7 months ago. That drug mule probably knows everything since Kathy. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Sub Rosa. Sub Rosa's on fire today. Sub Rosa's on fire today. The name says it all, right? Stab them with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. Sorry. Last thing I remember. All right, it's time to go, folks. That's the news, and I am out of here. Thank you for spending so much time with me on this Friday. I'm going to see you all tonight, and between now and then, yeah, it looks like you guys are done with the Beast. I am too. I'm kind of relieved. All right, between now and the next time I see you, reach out and try to save somebody. All right? Bye-bye.